Imagine waking up on a Tuesday morning, heading into your office, and opening your laptop, only to find that everything has changed. The familiar spinning blue circle of Windows is gone. The translucent taskbar you have stared at for a decade has vanished. In its place is a sleek, lightning-fast interface you have never seen before. No more forced updates in the middle of a presentation. No more blue screens of frustration. No more hidden telemetry sending your keystrokes to a server in Redmond. This is not a dream. Across the United States, a silent revolution is brewing within the deepest basements of corporate IT departments. Sysadmins, the silent guardians of our digital infrastructure, are finally hitting the breaking point. They are tired of the bloat, the privacy invasions, and the ever-increasing subscription costs. And now, the word is out that American IT departments are secretly replacing Windows with Linux overnight, and Bill Gates is reportedly furious. To understand why this is happening right now, we have to look at the current state of modern computing. For decades, Windows has been the undisputed king of the corporate world. It was the safe choice. No one ever got fired for buying IBM, and for 30 years, no one ever got fired for installing Windows. But something shifted recently. Windows 11 felt less like an operating system and more like an advertising platform that happens to run apps. Between the forced integration of AI assistants that nobody asked for, and the constant nagging to use Microsoft Edge, the professionals who actually keep the world running are done. They are making a move that was once considered unthinkable. They are moving to the Penguin. Now, you might be thinking, isn't Linux just for hackers and people who love typing cryptic commands into a black box? That was true 15 years ago, but today the landscape has shifted so dramatically that most office workers would not even know they were using it if you did not tell them. Modern Linux distributions like Fedora, Ubuntu, and Linux Mint are currently more stable, more secure, and significantly faster than the latest offerings from Microsoft. But it is not just about the user experience. The real reason Bill Gates and the executive suite in Redmond are losing sleep is the loss of control and the loss of data. You see, Windows has transformed into a data mining machine. Every search you make in your start menu, every file you open, and every app you install is logged. For a high-security American company or a government department, this is a nightmare. Managers have spent years trying to disable these features, only for a new update to turn them back on without warning. It is a game of cat and mouse that the IT departments were losing. So, they decided to stop playing the game entirely. The secret transition started in small pockets: a specialized engineering firm in Ohio, a research laboratory in California, a financial startup in New York. These departments realized that their proprietary software, the stuff they actually use to make money, runs just fine on Linux. In many cases, it runs better. Web browsers, spreadsheets, and specialized CAD software have all matured to the point where the underlying operating system should be invisible. If the OS is invisible, why pay hundreds of dollars per seat for a license that comes with baggage? But how do you pull off a transition like this overnight? This is where the sheer genius of modern IT automation comes in. Sysadmins are using deployment tools to re-image entire office floors while the employees are at home sleeping. They are utilizing universal compatibility layers like Wine and Proton, technologies originally perfected by Valve for the Steam Deck, to ensure that those old, crusty Windows apps that businesses rely on still function perfectly. When workers show up the next day, they see a desktop that looks familiar but feels brand new. The boot time is 5 seconds instead of 50. The memory usage is cut in half. The productivity increases because the computer actually stays out of the user's way. Microsoft's reaction has been anything but calm. Internal reports suggest that the telemetry data coming from corporate North America is showing a terrifying trend for the tech giant. Thousands of active Windows seats are simply vanishing from the map. They are not being upgraded to Windows 11. They are not being moved to the cloud. They are just going dark. From Microsoft's perspective, this is a financial disaster. Their entire business model has shifted towards software as a service. If a company moves to Linux, Microsoft loses that recurring revenue forever. They lose the ability to upsell Copilot subscriptions. They lose the ability to push Bing. The fury coming from the top brass isn't just about the money, though. It is about the narrative. For years, the tech industry has operated under the assumption that the desktop is a solved problem. Windows 1, Mac is for the creatives, and Linux is for the servers. This secret mass migration shatters that illusion. It proves that the year of the Linux desktop didn't happen because of a massive marketing campaign. It happened because the alternative became so cluttered and intrusive that the professionals went looking for an escape hatch. Let us talk about the hardware side of this, because that is where the secret IT rebellion finds its strongest weapon. We have all been there. You have a perfectly good computer that is 4 or 5 years old. It is fast, it has a great screen, and it does everything you need. Then, Microsoft announces that your hardware is suddenly e-waste because it lacks a specific security chip. They want you to throw away thousands of dollars in functioning equipment just to run their new OS. Departments look at a fleet of 500 laptops and see a multi-million-dollar expense that serves no purpose other than satisfying Microsoft's requirements. Linux, on the other hand, does not care. You can take a 10-year-old ThinkPad, install a modern Linux distro, and it will run circles around a brand new Windows machine. This allows companies to extend the life of their hardware by years. It is an environmental win, a financial win, and a massive middle finger to the planned obsolescence that has fueled the tech industry for decades. When Bill Gates sees companies bypassing the hardware refresh cycle, he sees the Microsoft ecosystem shrinking. Imagine the atmosphere inside these IT departments. There is a sense of liberation. One lead sysadmin at a major logistics firm, who spoke under the condition of anonymity, described the feeling of taking the shackles off. He explained that his team used to spend 40% of their week just managing Windows updates and fixing broken registries. After the secret switch to a customized version of Debian, that maintenance time dropped to near zero. The servers were happy, the desktops were happy, and for the first time in years, the help desk phones stopped ringing. This movement is being dubbed Shadow Linux. It is the implementation of open-source solutions without seeking the permission of the upper management who might be too cozy with Microsoft sales reps. These IT directors are realizing that it is easier to ask for forgiveness than permission, especially when they can show the CFO a budget report that has zeroed out licensing fees. It is a bottom-up revolution. The people who actually understand the technology are choosing the best tool for the job, rather than the one that has the most lobbyists. But what about the apps? This has always been the big gotcha for Linux. People say, sure, I love the idea of Linux, but I need my specific professional suite. Well, the year is now, and the web has changed everything. Most corporate work happens in a browser. Slack, Zoom, Teams, and even the web versions of Microsoft's own Office apps run identically on any platform. For the more specialized stuff, virtualization has become so efficient that you can run a single Windows app inside a container on a Linux desktop with zero performance loss. The "it can't run my apps" argument has effectively withered away. Let us dive deeper into the privacy aspect, because this is where things get truly scandalous. In the last year, Microsoft has been testing features like Recall, which essentially takes screenshots of your computer every few seconds to feed an AI database. For any corporate legal department, this is a disaster waiting to happen. It is a massive liability. If a hacker gets access to that database, they don't just have your files. They have a chronological history of everything you have ever seen on your screen. American IT departments saw this and realized they could no longer guarantee the security of their company's data as long as Windows was the primary OS. Switching to Linux wasn't just a tech choice. It was a defensive maneuver to protect corporate secrets. Bill Gates, although no longer the day-to-day CEO, is still the largest individual shareholder and the face of the company's legacy. He has spent his entire career building a world where Microsoft software is the air that businesses breathe. Seeing that air being replaced by a free, community-driven alternative is a direct hit to the philosophy that made him the richest man in the world. Open source was always the enemy. Microsoft famously called Linux a cancer in the early 2000s. While their public stance has softened, the internal reality is that they are terrified of a world where they aren't the gatekeepers. The secret is starting to leak out. You can find threads on specialized forums where IT pros are sharing their migration recipes. They are discussing how they designed custom shells that look exactly like Windows 10, so the average employee does not even realize the kernel has changed. They call it the Great Stealth Migration. One report suggests that a major government agency in Northern Europe has already completed this switch, and several US states are currently in the pilot phase of doing the same. The implications of this are massive for the software industry. If the corporate world moves away from Windows, the developers will follow. We are already seeing more and more professional software being released with native Linux support. When the dominant platform changes, the entire power structure of Silicon Valley shifts. Microsoft knows this. They are trying to pivot. They are trying to put Windows in the cloud. They want you to stream your desktop so they can maintain that control. But why stream a desktop and pay a monthly fee when you can run a superior one locally for free? The efficiency gains alone are enough to justify the fury of the competitors. A standard Windows install takes up about 30 gigabytes of space and uses 4 gigabytes of RAM just to sit at the desktop doing nothing. A slimmed-down corporate Linux install takes up 5 gigabytes and uses 500 megabytes of RAM. In a world of cloud computing and virtual machines, that difference in resource usage translates to millions of dollars in saved server costs. It is like comparing a heavy gas-guzzling truck to a sleek electric vehicle. Both get you to work, but one is clearly more evolved for the current environment. We also have to consider the update fatigue. We have all experienced that moment where you need to turn off your laptop to catch a flight, and Windows says updating, do not turn off your computer. It is a hostage situation. In a corporate environment, this happens on a massive scale. Thousands of man-hours are lost every month to forced reboots and update cycles that go wrong. Linux updates happen in the background. They do not require reboots for 99% of changes. You can update the entire system while you are working. For an IT department, this means they can keep the fleet secure without ever interrupting the workflow of the employees. It makes them look like heroes. The American worker is also changing. The new generation entering the workforce grew up with Chrome OS and Android. To them, the Windows way of doing things feels old-fashioned and clunky. They are used to everything being in the cloud and everything being fast. They do not have a sentimental attachment to the start button. If you give them a computer that works, they are happy. This has made the secret transition even easier. The resistance from the end users is at an all-time low, because the user interface has become secondary to the applications themselves. As these IT departments continue to swap out systems under the cover of darkness, the Microsoft tax is becoming a thing of the past. Think about the billions of dollars that have been funneled from American businesses into Microsoft's coffers over the last 3 decades. That money is now beginning to stay within the companies. It is being used for R&D, for better pay, for expansion. The economic impact of a mass move to open-source software is staggeringly large. It democratizes technology. It takes the power away from a single corporation and gives it back to the people who use it. Of course, the transition is not without its challenges. Moving a legacy system that has been built on top of Windows for 30 years is a complex task. The secret IT groups are not doing it all at once. They are using a strangler pattern. They move the easiest departments first: marketing, HR, sales. They leave the complex legacy stuff for last, running it in isolated virtual environments. Bit by bit, the Windows footprint shrinks until it is nothing more than a single icon on a Linux desktop. The level of secrecy involved is perhaps the most interesting part of this story. Why not announce it? Why the overnight swaps? Because Microsoft has an army of account managers and executives whose job it is to prevent this. If a CIO announces they are thinking about Linux, Microsoft will swoop in with discounts, free credits, and pressure from the board of directors. By doing it secretly and presenting it as a finished result, the IT departments bypass the bureaucracy. They show the results first: better performance, lower costs, higher security, and by then it is too late for the sales reps to intervene. Bill Gates' frustration is a symptom of a larger shift in the world. The era of the monolithic, proprietary operating system is ending. We are moving toward a modular, open-source future where the user is in control of their data. The myth that Linux is too hard has been debunked by the very people who were supposed to be the gatekeepers of Windows. This is a massive wake-up call for the entire tech industry. If you stop listening to your customers and start treating them like a product to be mined, they will eventually find a way out. The silent halls of corporate America are no longer filled with the sound of Windows startup chimes. They are filled with the sound of work being done on systems that are stable, fast, and private. The sysadmins are no longer fighting the computer, they are using it. And while the executives in Redmond might be furious, the people who actually use these machines are finally feeling a sense of relief. The great stealth migration is here, and it is not stopping. As this trend continues to accelerate, we are going to see a massive ripple effect throughout the entire tech sector. Think about the peripheral manufacturers, the printers, the scanners, the specialized sensors. For years, they only cared about Windows drivers. Now they are being forced to support Linux natively because their biggest customers are demanding it. The power has shifted. When a Fortune 500 company tells a hardware vendor our 5,000 engineers are now on Linux, make your hardware work or we're switching brands, the vendor moves fast. This is the hidden hand of the market at work, driven by the experts in the IT department. Security experts are also quietly cheering this move. Windows has always been the biggest target for malware and ransomware because of its market share and its complex legacy-heavy architecture. Linux is built from the ground up with a completely different security model. It is much harder for a virus to gain root access and spread through a network. By moving to Linux, these companies are effectively taking themselves off the target list for a wide range of common cyber attacks. It is like moving from a house with 100 unlocked windows to a fortress with a single, heavily guarded gate. The help desk of the future looks very different too. In a Windows environment, reinstalling the OS is a common fix for a system that has become slow and bloated over time. In a Linux environment, that bloat does not exist. The system stays as fast as the day it was installed. Documentation is better, the community is more helpful, and the tools available to sysadmins are much more powerful. They can script almost any task, allowing them to manage thousands of machines with a tiny team. This is the ultimate efficiency. The news of this secret migration is also a massive boost for the global open-source community. For years, developers have been working on Linux for the love of the craft. Now they are seeing their work become the backbone of the American economy. This leads to more funding, more polished apps, and a faster development cycle for everyone. It is a virtuous cycle that only makes the platform stronger. The more people use it, the better it gets, which makes more people want to use it. So, where does this leave Microsoft? They are not going to disappear, of course. They are a massive company with a hand in everything from gaming to cloud infrastructure. But the Windows monopoly is a wall that is currently crumbling. They will likely focus even more on their Azure cloud platform, effectively becoming a utility company that provides computing power rather than a software company that provides a desktop experience. They are hedge funding their own decline by making Linux a first-class citizen on their cloud servers, bizarrely becoming one of the biggest contributors to the Linux kernel themselves. The fury we are hearing about is the sound of an old guard realizing that the world has moved on. The walled garden approach only works as long as the garden is better than the outside world. The moment the garden becomes filled with ads, trackers, and forced reboots, people will start looking for a way over the wall. The American IT departments found that way, and they are leading the rest of us out. What does this mean for you, the average user? It means that your next computer might not run Windows, and that is a good thing. It means you will have more choices, better privacy, and hardware that lasts longer. The pro in IT has moved to Linux, and usually where the pros go, the rest of the world follows a few years later. The secret is out, the move is happening, and the tech landscape will never be the same again. If you are a tech enthusiast, this is the most exciting time to be alive. We are witnessing the fall of a titan and the rise of a community-driven alternative. It is a David and Goliath story, where David is a penguin and Goliath is a multi-trillion-dollar corporation. And for the first time in computing history, it looks like the penguin is winning. The silent, secret transition of American IT departments is just the beginning. The shift in power is real. The resource savings are tangible, and the increase in security is undeniable. As the sun sets on the era of proprietary desktop dominance, we can look forward to a more open, transparent, and user-centric digital world. The sysadmins in those dark server rooms have done their part. They have paved the way for a more stable and secure future. Now it is up to the rest of the world to follow their lead. The next time you see a computer that seems a bit too fast or a desktop that looks a bit too clean, take a closer look. You might just be looking at the future. A future that Bill Gates never wanted, but one that we desperately needed. The tech industry has a habit of moving in cycles, from the mainframe to the PC, from the PC to the cloud. But throughout all of those cycles, the underlying theme has been the battle for control. The move to Linux is the first time the users have seized that control back on a mass scale. It is a historical turning point that people will look back on as the moment when software as a product died and software as a resource was born. American businesses are leading the charge, and the results are speaking for themselves. Better, faster, cheaper, and private. It is the holy grail of computing, and it was found in the open source world. The secret IT departments are still working. Every night, more machines are being converted. More partitions are being swiped clean of telemetry. More penguins are being deployed. While the news cycles are focused on the latest AI craze or the newest smartphone release, the real story is happening in the terminal windows of the world's most important companies. It is a quiet revolution, but its impact will be felt for decades. The Penguin has moved from the server room to the office desk, and it is not leaving. The tech world has changed, and it was the boring IT guys who changed it. In the end, technology should serve people, not the other way around. When an operating system starts serving the interests of its stockholders over the interests of its users, it has failed. The American IT rebellion is the market's response to that failure. It is a clear message that quality, privacy, and stability still matter. Bill Gates might be furious, and Redmond might be in a state of emergency, but for the millions of people now using a cleaner, faster computer, it is a new dawn. Modern computing is finally being reclaimed by the people who actually understood it all along. The great stealth migration continues. One office at a time, one penguin at a time. The revolution will not be televised, but it will be installed via a USB drive.